Hi, this is Neil Lazarus and welcome to a podcast. Yes, I know, there haven't been any for a while and the world has been changing but I've been in lockdown. We're in lockdown here in Israel, so you'll excuse me, but thank you to all of you who wrote in and said, one, we can still hear that annoying seat squeaking. I've bought a new one, and at the same time you can tell I've had lots and lots of coffee, saying, hey, where are the podcasts? Have you given up or something? God forbid. I will never let you down. It's just taken a little bit longer. And why? Lots of new projects on its way, lots of online learning courses, and lots of different things, so that's going to be kind of exciting. Maybe we'll talk about that in this podcast a little bit later or in the next one. Anyway, today we're going to be looking at the so-called Abraham Agreement, or the signing of normality between the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain. Is it such a major change as the President of the United States, that great tax-paying man, as you know, too soon. But whether it is the signs of a new Middle East, what does it mean? Will we be having Israelis going to Dubai? The answer, Dubai? No? All right, doesn't matter. Keep listening. And what are the implications for the Palestinians? All of that coming up in 30 seconds. So, when the leaders of the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain signed this agreement to normalise relations, I remind you, there wasn't actually a war between them. They just, since the Arab boycott, haven't really been talking to us in Israel. So it's not like, yay, peace in our time, but rather normalisations. I've got to get to say normalisation of relationships with Israel. At the White House ceremony a few weeks back, President Donald Trump proclaimed it as a, quote, historic moment. And again, we had Benjamin Netanyahu going there. He downgraded his flight, by the way. He was going to go on a private jet, but thought maybe not the best timing, considering there's now 21% unemployment in Israel, and we now have got another closure, which could be anywhere up to 4 weeks. I'm off subject. That's another podcast. Anyway, Prime Minister Netanyahu comes. Follow, listen. And at the same time, we see the world sitting in front of the White House, listening to the speeches, none of whom are socially distanced, all of them without any masks, and some of them had corona. True story, by the way. The so-called diplomatic detente is, I think, to one extent it is significant. The United Arab Emirates and Bahrain will be the only Arab countries, along with Egypt and Jordan, to officially recognise the Jewish state, which is cool, I think. And they will establish diplomatic relations, as you know, in the respective capitals. In Jerusalem, awkward, definitely Tel Aviv. So this is definitely going to be strengthening both the economic and security relations. Look, a couple of things which are important. One, you have a potential of gas lines being opened up. There's actually a gas line between Israel and Eilat. Well, what do I mean Israel and Eilat? I mean the Red Sea, which is Eilat, and Ashkelon. It's a pipeline which was built in the days of before the revolution in 1979 in Iran. And there was Israel and the pre-revolutionary Iran or the Shahist Iran were working together in the export of oil and gas to the Mediterranean. Now, that whole project, it's oil, actually, we'll talk about gas a bit later, could well be renewed. And that's huge, because the Red Sea, where you went to Eilat, saw all the fishes, which will probably be dead if this actually goes ahead. Oh, brutal. Vegans upset. But is much deeper than the Suez Canal, which means you can get bigger tankers in. So the United Arab Emirates are really, really quite interested in developing a project which could get them circumventing having to use the Suez Canal, taking their ships to the Eilat port, bringing it over Israel via Ashkelon, and then cutting out a lot of transport. I mean, that's just one idea of what is for stake here. We've also got people interested in investment. I mean, the price of property there is crazily cheaper than Israel. So a lot of things which I think are very exciting. I mean, one funny story I saw was an investor from Dubai seeking to invest in Beitar Yerushalayim football team in Israel. Now, I don't know how much you know about Beitar Yerushalayim, but I think it's fair to say that they're not the greatest supporters of Arabs in the world. So, New Middle East, Beitar could be leading it. You never know. So I think all of that's really quite important. I think it's really exciting. I want to go to Dubai on holiday. I don't know if any of you guys have been there. But can we just put it a little bit in proportion? Cynical is healthy. Being cynical is healthy. Be cynical, you're never disappointed. The United Arab Emirates and Bahrain have never been central to the Arab-Israeli conflict or hostility. The reason why they're getting so concerned and want to come up on the side of Israel is because of Iran. Iran, not America, is the greatest factor pushing people towards recognizing Israel, or countries recognizing Israel today. Your enemy's enemy is your friend. The Israeli version, as you know, is your enemy's enemy is your friend, unless they're not. So these two Persian Gulf monarchs they're not great powers, as I mentioned, and neither have acted as cheerleaders or financiers in the frontline states. It's also been the relationship between the two sides have been there for a while. I mean, the conflict's been dormant for a while. So you've had relationships with a relationship with Bahrain. You have a relationship with the UAE. It's been going on for a while. The big question, I think, is not the UAE, is not Saudi Arabia. You've got Sudan coming in, which is a little bit dodgy, or as the Americans say, shady, because one of the conditions of bringing Sudan into recognizing Israel, America was demanding that it recognize Israel. In return, they would be taken off the international terrorist list, or will be forgiven for crimes supporting terrorism. So I'm not sure that's great, and the implications in the future could be well questionable. That's out there. But we're being distracted. My wife once said I was the only person who interrupted his own presentation, so I'll carry on with the thought I was having about Saudi Arabia. The Saudis are key. Bahrain and UAE are small and lack political influence. If the Saudis come in, they will be a game changer. Let's talk more about Saudi Arabia after this. Welcome back. Are you impressed? We have sponsorship. People are paying adverts, so you'll excuse me. But hey, every penny counts. So, what I was saying, we'll talk about Saudi Arabia. Look, there's certainly been a move since Prince Mohammed bin Salman started to ascend to power in 2015. It's led to many informal relations, like I mentioned before. We've got the exchange of cybersecurity teams, trade, weapons, all of which taking place at the same time, all unofficially under the table. There was a stage where I think people tried to jump the gun on diplomacy and like push it forward too quickly. In 2018, the Prince bin Salman made the unprecedented move of declaring Israel's right to exist, which was wild. It got a cold reaction from his father. And here we're seeing, in many ways, that the son seems to be jumping the gun with the statement. and much of the Saudi public and the monarchy itself is a little more ambivalent. In fact, his father, King Salman, who publicly denounced what this prince had been saying. So it was all a bit of a, excuse the French, diplomatic screw up within the Saudi family. Now, again, I think people are playing things a little less, or being a little bit more cautious now. But what are interesting is you're seeing signs within the Saudi mosques which are toning down the tone, if you can tone down tones, but it's toning down the rhetoric against Israel. And I think that what they're trying to do now is to some extent prepare the public for normalization, the Saudi public. The reality is that something's got to be done on the Palestinian side, something token at least, because I think the Saudis, I remember they came up with the Saudi plan originally, want to be given some form of credibility or some form of, they want Israel to pay a price, put it that way, for recognition by Saudi Arabia of Israel. And that price would be something to do with the Palestinians. Again, I think it touches on something which I think is a game changer in the last few weeks in the Middle East, is that the position of the Palestinians themselves has been weakened. No longer can they say no recognition of Israel until the Palestinian problem is solved. What it clearly showed, this agreement, was you've got two countries Arab countries who don't give a damn about the Palestinians, and I think that's a game changer. It's a game changer, by the way, for the right. It's very much feeds into the agenda of Benjamin Netanyahu, who says, we want to make peace for peace sake. So it gives credibility to the right. The right in Israel is certainly stronger than ever, even though Netanyahu is not. What we're also seeing is there was a price to pay. And that price to pay was the freezing, although he denies it, of annexation by Israel. Now, again, interesting in the wording of the agreement between Israel and Bahrain and UAE. In English, it said Israel would stop or cancel or terminate annexation. In the Hebrew, it said suspended. So you have two different wordings there, which I think are significant. We may be going back to that whole argument on wording of which we saw in Resolution 242, if you know what I'm referring to. So yeah, again, interesting perspective there as far as annexation put on the low light. On the Palestinian front, we're also seeing some dramatic changes. Let's have a look after this. So, on the Palestinian side, we're seeing an increased reconciliation between Fatah and Hamas again. I know. But it's interesting. First of all, I thought it was interesting that when the Arabic speeches came out in the White House, rockets were fired from Gaza. But, listen carefully. And I'm going to repeat something that a reporter said, could have been for ABC, may be mistaken on that, and he got into trouble and people were complaining, but I think it was right. The firing of 4 rockets from Gaza to Israel was token. Now, people got upset. They said the killing of Jews is not token. That's not what he meant. What he meant was, and he's right on it, is if that's as good as it gets, it's pathetic. And really is a sign and indication of how weak the Palestinian leadership is. Look, I remind you, the headline is not the handshake, it's what happened in the West Bank, and what happened in the West Bank was nothing. Nothing happened with this handshake. Nothing happened when Trump declared Jerusalem as the capital. A few days of rioting. Big deal. In other words, the Palestinian society is tired in the West Bank. They want to move on. They want to have some form of normalization. Now, I do a webinar which has been a great hit, and if you're interested in bringing it to your university or community, just drop me a line where I speak to, we'll call him Ali, it's a pseudonym, a Palestinian from the Bethlehem area who doesn't want to reveal his identity. And it's amazing. It's really interesting what he has to say. So we do a webinar, and I've done this a few times now, and it's really, I think, one of the better pieces I've been doing for a while. Going live with me, with a Palestinian live from the West Bank. And what he says is he's very critical of the BDS movement. He's very critical of the Palestinian Authority. So if you're interested in booking that, let me know. But again, like I said, the headline is, it's not what happened, it's what didn't happen. Now you've still got this awkward situation which I've referred to in the past between Israel and Hamas, which is Israel can't get rid of Hamas because it creates a vacuum, but can't live with it because it creates a war of attrition, and we're kind of caught between the two there. So yeah, whoa, a lot of stuff, like I said, going on internationally. What we haven't talked about is COVID-19 and what is happening in Israel. One of the biggest challenges in the economy. But I think we'll do that in another webcast later on. Thanks for joining me. I know there's been a delay in getting these webcasts out, like a podcast out, excuse me. The reason basically being is we've been crazily broadcasting live web seminars, webcast. I'm going to get my webs and my pods sorted out one day, but webinars live to universities, to communities, to federations. So I've been very, very busy with that. We are now booking effectively up until April next year, April 2021. We can go further, but that's where people are booking up, and it's going to be busy. So we're doing a lot of that. Again, if you're interested, want to know more, drop me a line, and we can book that for you, for your university. Let's make this so-called lockdown or the coronavirus, let's make sure it doesn't kill education. And just because people aren't coming to Israel doesn't mean we can't talk about it and learn about it. So until next time, wherever it is, whenever it is, whether it's live, if you're in Israel, or there's no flights at the moment. I'm dying here. I'm normally doing a lecture tour immediately after Sukkot, but this year will be slightly different. I'll be doing a webinar tour internationally, if you like. But whether it's live or whether it's via Zoom or whether it's just by email, feel free to reach out. This is Neil Lazarus, and thank you for being in touch. I love you guys, and I miss you, and I want to be in touch with you.